Canada just announced something so big that it could change who controls the world's energy for the next 50 years. America tried to slow Canada down with tariffs and trade fights. But while Washington was busy attacking Canada, Canada was quietly getting ready to do something no one saw coming. The plan involves nuclear power, uranium, and a technology Canada already leads the world in. And the United States has no answer for it. Canada's Energy Minister Tim Hodgson announced a new national nuclear strategy that is one of the most ambitious energy plans any country has put forward in decades. The plan calls for Canada to build up to 10 nuclear reactors over the next 15 years, sell Canadian-made reactors to other countries around the world, and double uranium exports. 2 large-scale reactors are to begin construction by 2035. 5 more are to be planned or under development by 2040, at least. 1 reactor outside Ontario is to begin construction by 2035. A Canadian-made microreactor is to be finalized by 2035 and deployed to a remote community by the late 2030s. These are not wishes. They are targets written into a published national strategy released by the federal government. Canada currently has 4 nuclear power plants, 3 in Ontario and 1 in New Brunswick. Together, they generate about 15% of Canada's electricity. That number sounds modest until you compare it to France. France operates 57 nuclear reactors and generates 65 to 70% of its total electricity from nuclear power. France is Europe's largest net exporter of low-carbon electricity. Once a nuclear plant is built, it produces electricity at very low cost for decades. The investment is large upfront. The reward lasts for generations. Canada is now choosing to follow that path at scale, at speed, and with technology Canada already leads the world in. The BWRX 300 small modular reactor being built at the Darlington site in Ontario is the G7's first commercial small modular reactor under active construction. The base mat, the concrete and steel foundation of the reactor building was set into place in spring 2026. No other G7 country has reached that point. The United States, the United Kingdom, France, Japan, Germany, and Italy all trail Canada in the commercial deployment of this next-generation nuclear technology. The Darlington SMR is expected to produce 300 megawatts of electricity when it enters service, and the CANDU reactor design developed in Canada is already operating in multiple countries around the world. Canada is not starting from zero. It is extending a lead it already has. The uranium story is where the energy picture gets even more powerful. Saskatchewan's Athabasca Basin is the highest grade uranium mining region on Earth. Canada is the world's 2nd largest uranium producer. Cameco, headquartered in Saskatoon, signed a $2.6 billion uranium supply agreement with India in March 2026, nearly 10 times the value of the previous Canada-India uranium deal. Cameco holds long-term contracts with European buyers through 2036. The new national nuclear strategy calls for Canada to double uranium exports, doubling exports from the world's 2nd largest uranium producer, at a moment when global demand for nuclear fuel is accelerating as country after country restarts or expands its nuclear programs, is a commercial position that no tariff imposed from Washington changes. The global electricity demand picture explains why the timing of Canada's nuclear announcement is so precisely right. Data centers running artificial intelligence require enormous amounts of reliable electricity. Electric vehicles charge from the grid, adding new demand every year. Industrial electrification across manufacturing, steel, cement, and chemical production is adding load to electricity grids that were not designed to carry it. Solar and wind generate electricity when the sun shines and the wind blows. Nuclear generates electricity continuously, around the clock, in all weather, at very low cost per kilowatt hour once the capital investment is recovered. The combination nuclear as the base, wind and solar on top, is how France built the cheapest and lowest carbon electricity system in Western Europe. Canada's national nuclear strategy is the plan to build exactly that combination from coast to coast. China offers the most striking comparison for the pace of what Canada is trying to match. China installed over 430 gigawatts of renewable energy in the most recent reporting period, pushing its total operating capacity past 2.34 terawatts. China's combined wind and solar capacity has officially surpassed its coal capacity. China is also building new nuclear reactors at a pace no Western country is matching. The combined electricity capacity China is deploying nuclear for the base, renewable for everything else, is powering the industrial expansion of the world's largest manufacturing economy. Canada, with its hydroelectric base, its uranium reserves, its SMR technology, and its new 10-reactor national strategy, is positioning itself to be the Western world's version of that energy architecture. Meanwhile, the American federal government paid $765 million to cancel 4 wind energy leases off the coast of New York. The administration that is actively working to kill renewable energy development and remove clean energy from the electricity grid is the same administration applying tariffs to Canadian goods. As Canada accelerates nuclear, doubles uranium exports, and expands its clean electricity production, Washington is paying to eliminate wind farms in the waters off one of the most densely populated regions in the United States. Alberta's provincial government announced a solar panel recycling fee that is effectively shutting down the solar industry in that province. The fee for recycling a single solar panel has been set at $14 compared to $2.75 for a large television and $0.10 for a milk container. Investment in Alberta's renewable energy sector has already fallen dramatically from its previous levels. Alberta pays among the highest electricity prices in Canada. The province that is planning to attract data centers is planning to power those data centers with natural gas burning hydrocarbons to produce electricity at a moment when Canada's federal government is building nuclear. Reactors and the rest of the world is rushing toward clean generation. The federal plan, by contrast, involves building a massive countrywide electricity grid connected east to west, with nuclear providing the stable base, hydroelectric power from British Columbia, Ontario, and Quebec adding consistent low-cost generation and wind and solar layered on top to capture effectively free energy from nature. That combined grid is not a theoretical future. The hydroelectric component already exists and already gives BC, Ontario, and Quebec among the lowest electricity costs in the entire country. The nuclear expansion adds to that foundation. The $1 trillion National Electricity Strategy Carney announced in May 2026 is the investment framework that builds the transmission backbone, connecting those clean generation sources to every corner of the country. BYD, the Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer that can now begin entering the Canadian market following the trade agreement Carney negotiated with China in January 2026, is planning to bring 5-minute megawatt EV charging stations to Canada. The first Canadian megawatt charger is set to open in Quebec, specifically for freight trucks. BYD built 5,700 flash charging stations in China in the past 12 months. A Canadian EV grid with megawatt charging infrastructure powered by a nuclear and hydroelectric electricity system is the full picture of where Canada's energy strategy is heading, and it has nothing to do with burning more natural gas or canceling wind leases. The nuclear strategy Canada announced covers 15 years, 10 reactors, doubled uranium exports, Canadian-made reactors sold to allied nations, and microreactors deployed to remote communities. The country that leads the G7 in commercial SMR construction controls some of the world's largest uranium reserves and is building the electricity grid to power the next industrial era, just announced its ambition out loud. Washington spent the spring of 2026 paying to kill wind farms. Canada spent it breaking ground on the Western world's first commercial small modular reactor.